forgot, and I noticed 45 minutes later. That was quite
No
annoying.
way. That's awful. Oh man. So do you go back and redo the whole episode with the person?
No, we just had the audio transcript and we just
Okay.
had this
That's
audio, but
that's
it's
tough.
not.
I mean, it happens, right?
uh,
Mistakes happen sometimes.
it's live.
Yep.
Ready to start?
Yeah. Hey, yeah, getting some stretches in. That's why I was taking my last sip of water too. I'm like, all right, I'll get myself ready as well.
Awesome. Keely, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to welcome you here because you specialize in client acquisition, business development. You've been helping companies for the last 10 years get new clients. And this is exactly what a lot of people in our community struggle with, that they are. Oh, sorry, I,
No
I'm
worries.
I'm on I'm on Do Not Disturb, but kids learn this new hack. Like if you call twice,
Yeah, it
it
goes
goes
through, right?
through this.
Yeah. Well, look, if your kids, I mean, if it's something important, please by all means take
No,
it.
no, no. I mean, they're just at home because, well, but I upgrade from from Do Not Disturb to airplane mode.
Okay.
Gosh, first time this happened.
You're just saying too, you forget to record now. First time happens with this, so it was
Yeah,
bad luck bringing it up in the first place, I
exactly.
guess.
Forget the Do Not Disturb, upgrade.
Yeah.
Keely, I'm super excited to welcome you on the show because you have so much experience with business development. For the last 10 years, you've been helping recruiting agencies get more clients. And this is exactly what a lot of people in our community struggle with. They are great with recruiting, they learn how to screen candidates, and they often need their first or second client to start working for. So before we dive deeper and you share some actionable insights, what do you see on the market these days? Is it easier or harder than it was a year or 2 years ago? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, certainly harder, right? 21 and 22 were great for the recruitment industry. It was, I mean, just speaking strictly in the US side of things, it was some of the best growth they've had year over year in I think decades. And since then, though, it's been a struggle, right? There are some industries, don't get me wrong, that are still doing well, like the construction industry, for example, here in the US is seeing still a ton of business. But then on the flip side, on the IT side, where things were booming in 22, it's really slowed down. It's been a lot harder, and I think it's been I think part of it has been the struggle has been around it was so good that when things started to go bad, people developed some bad habits during the good times because in prior to 2020, right before things shut down and then things went crazy, it wasn't uncommon to take months to win over new clients, right? There wasn't like a, hey, I sent one or two emails and just like that, I'm signing someone up. I do believe that the people that are successful in this long term have they have that plan and they have persistence to keep targeting accounts over and over again to eventually win them over. But I guess the short answer to your question is it's still tough out there, but winning is still happening. I think I'm waiting for the report to come out, but from what I've seen in the US at least, staffing market is still expected to bring in I think over 200 billion in revenue. So there's still plenty of money to be made out there.
Awesome. Well, that's good news. And some of the people who go through the training program, they learned how to do IT recruiting. They are willing to get the first client, and they often don't know how long it takes. Right? Should they expect the client to get within 2 weeks or 2 months, or is it a long-term game? So, based on your experience, what is a realistic expectation?
Yeah, that's always people ask that question all the time, and I never probably give the answer they want to hear, but it's always, "Hey, it depends," right? Because who are you targeting, I think plays a big role in that. If you're going after massive organizations, you can expect to take months, if not years, to break into it. If you're going after a smaller, let's say mom and pop shop of 10, 15, 20 employees, it might be a faster turnaround time, but the opportunity is less because they may only hire once or twice a year. So that could get they could be brought on within a few weeks if you get the right timing where they just need to hire someone. You show up at the perfect time. It really just depends from client to client. What I tell everyone that I work with though is, hey, learn to fall in love with the process itself. Because if you're always thinking, okay, how quickly can I win someone over? You're going to burn yourself out, right? You should really be working on putting together a sales system, putting together a process that you can repeat over and over again and falling in love with that routine because that routine will lead to the results you want to get. And so that's probably the best way I would say to approach this situation, because there is no like, hey, for 300 employees you can expect 2 months. It really just depends, because what if a 300 person employee has no HR? They might bring someone out within 2 weeks, or a 300 person company might have a robust HR team and they'll say, hey, we don't want to work with you. We'll only use you for contract or specialized, and it could take 6 months. So really, it just comes down to falling in love with that routine and repeating those processes and over again to the point where you can start bringing in new clients.
Awesome. Actually, enjoying the journey plays a big role, right?
A
Enjoying the
huge role.
process. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you
awesome.
gotta you gotta celebrate the small wins. Like, I think that is like so important in our industry, because you're not gonna. I mean, even some of the best sales reps are bringing in what, 10 to 15 new clients in a year, right? During probably in this market, if you're bringing in 10 clients in a year, that's a pretty damn good year. And so that means is, even if it's once a week you're bringing someone, that means 42 weeks out of the year you're bringing in nobody. So if you're
Mm,
judging your success on, do I bring in a new client or did I make a placement or not, as like a win or not, like either I won or I failed, like you're gonna have a really really hard time in this industry. And by
mm,
small wins, I'm talking like, did you have a great cold call with someone and found out something new about the account or the manager? Did you talk to a candidate who is a rock star, but they're not going to come on the market for another 3 months, and that's okay too? Like, those are small wins, and you have to point those out to yourselves. I think, to keep your sanity, and also to just motivate yourself to understand, hey, I am making progress. It might not be the end goal I want of new client placement, but from where I was yesterday to where I am today, I'm now a step further, which is a
mm.
win, and that should be celebrated.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it's hardest when the freelancer, the solopreneur, has some bills to pay and
Sure.
needs to recover the costs rather quickly, which puts additional stress on top of everything on their plate already. So based on what you say, it feels like this is a longer term game, and someone should not expect the client within 3 months or 6 months.
I'm just saying, if you're getting in recruitment, you should be playing the long game. Like, you shouldn't be getting into this thinking this is a get rich quick scheme, because, and even with the rise of AI, which I think there's a lot of positives to that, this is still a people driven, relationship driven industry. And so candidates you meet today could become clients you that work with you years later, right? Hiring managers you're working today become candidates later on because they're on the job market. So if you're coming into this thinking like, oh, I'm just going to make, basically, like I said, get rich quick, like, you're going to be sorely disappointed. It's going to take some time to build your book of business. But if you're thinking in years, not weeks or months, you will be successful. I realize, though, to your point, right? As a solopreneur, you have bills to pay. And I think in those cases, one of the best things you can do is to be nimble, right? Because you want to come in, maybe you want to work in the IT space. You say, hey, look, I want to be a solo entrepreneur. I want to run my own firm. I want to do IT staffing. And you realize, oh, wait, it's really hard. There's no one hiring. It's like, okay, that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be flexible and look outside your traditional ICP to pay the bills. But you still should have your eye on the prize in terms of, hey, if this is the industry I want to get into, I'm going to continually target these accounts. I'm going to continually work my butt off to become great in this space. And if I have to pick up a few roles, do some split desk fees, whatever it is to pay the bills, like, that's fine. I think that's actually pretty common from a lot of people I've talked to when they're first starting out, is they tend to be a little bit more generalized. And as time goes on, they can niche down more and more, which leads to higher fees, and it leads to repeat business because they're developing relationships with these candidates and hiring managers that can last for years.
Hmm, awesome. And we are talking about IT, which generally is spread across the world and it's pretty much the same. A backend developer can work for a company in the UK or in the US. So also recruiters tend to be working remotely for clients around the globe, which sounds awesome, but it's also harder to get some of these new clients on board. So based on your experience, how to approach this remote work?
Yeah, I think the best thing to do, at least on the client acquisition side, is to dominate a geographical area. Because the problem being, and even with remote, right? There are not really a lot of 100% remote jobs. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, even in the IT space, they're trying to bring people back in the office. So the problem is, if you have a client, let's say in Chicago where I am, but all of your candidates you sourced for the last 3 months are in New York, and your client says, oh, they have to come in the office 3 days a week. It's like, well, now you have a problem, right? You have candidates in one location, you have a client in a different one, and they can't match up. So I'm a big believer in, when you're starting out, and really just in general, when you're trying to grow a book of business, it's wise to start in a geographical area, dominate that, start landing a few clients, if you want to call them anchor clients, whatever you want to call them, right? And build around that, and then take some risks in different markets. Because let's just say, going back to this example, let's say you have your one client in Chicago, you make a placement, and then you find another two or three clients, you NPC some people out, whatever it is, you start dominating the Chicago market. Well, now you have some potential reoccurring book of business, which allows you to take the risk and go into New York or into LA or over to Europe, whatever it is. And you know that, okay, every minute I spend on the new market, it's okay because I have this book of business that will help me generate the revenue I want to do. Because if
Mm.
you're just spreading yourself so thin, the problem you run into is you win nothing, you're bringing in no revenue, and then you're left with candidates who can't work anywhere else because they're so local to a market that you don't have clients in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this actually reminds me one of the people from our community who went through the recruiting training. He is building a talent pool. He's based in Montreal, Canada, and now he's ready to get his first client. So the focus on the area of Montreal seems to be there. But what should be the next step? If you swap shoes with him, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, if he's got like a great stable of candidates already local to Montreal, I would be taking my best ones and I would be NPCing. It still works, right? There is still a lot of value to NPC candidates out there. I then also would, and this is what I believe and teach, is you really should have a target of your top 50 accounts. Meaning, okay, look at the Montreal market. If I'm in the IT space, if my ICP is between 25 and 100 employees, I want to find the 50 best companies, at least on paper, that I would target moving forward. And then as you're calling in, you're doing your discovery meetings, you find out things like, oh, yeah, well, we want you to be a 10% rate. It's like, okay, you no longer became a priority to me. Like, you are out and I need to replace you with another account. Because if you really think about it, if you bring in again 8 to 10 new clients in a year, depending on what your average billing size is, you could produce over $1 million in revenue with that alone, based on the placement size. And of those 50 accounts, that only means you have to win about 20% of them. If you're targeting the right ones, if you're bringing them in out, it really should be like a living, breathing document. But I would tell that person, yes, like find the what you think are the 50 best companies in Montreal and go after those. Use those best can't you have the NPC, target them constantly, and then be quick to either move forward with them, meaning, hey, get a contract in place, or be quick to disqualify them. Because if we're finding out, again, the rates are bad, maybe they use 8 other agencies on their open roles, maybe HR doesn't allow you to talk to the managers at all. It's like, okay, those are all red flags, right? It makes
Yeah.
your job much, much harder, which means every minute you do spend on that role, it means you can't spend it somewhere else. And if you're competing against 8 other agencies, right? Like the odds, and we all think we're great at what we do. And I'm sure you're probably, if there's 8 agencies, you're probably better than some of them. But also, those 8 agencies are calling on some of the same candidates, right? And there's a lot of friction that can occur. So you're more likely better served to drop that prospect and go after someone else who works with one agency at a time, who does exclusive, who does retainer, whatever it is, because your win percentage goes up so much higher, which means your time is being spent more wisely. Because I do think that is like another issue, especially for smaller firms, is every minute you spend on a bad client or a bad prospect is time wasted that could have been spent somewhere else.
Well, I really like this approach of disqualifying clients. That's a great one. I now have some flashbacks with clients who didn't really allow me to talk to hiring managers, or it took forever to interview candidates. And now, in hindsight, it feels like lots of time wasted. So it's
Are you
good to
still
find.
work? Are you still working with those clients today?
No, no, not really.
Exactly. There you go, like that. Exactly. Like that. Like proves the point, right? It's like if, and I get it, right? And people always say, well, Keely, like, I'm just starting out. Like, why would I turn away clients? Like, I understand that, right? Like, when you're first starting out, you're fighting for scraps. You take what you can get. I've been there. Like, I built territories from scratch. It's hard. It sucks. It takes months. And in the beginning, you tend to get the harder to work with clients. But as your book of business grows, you should be looking to replace those bad clients with better clients. Because I
Mm,
would rather have like 5 amazing clients than 10 crappy ones, because those
mm,
5 amazing ones, when I get the recs, I know I'm going to fill them. My win percentage is extremely high. Maybe it's a retainer, whatever it is, right? I know my time to pay off is so high. Every minute I spend working with this client, I am more likely than not to make revenue, versus the bad clients. Every minute I spend with them, my chance of making revenue might be 50%, 20%, whatever it is. Like, those are not good numbers. We only have so
mm.
much time in the day and we need to use it as efficiently as possible. And a lot of it comes down to just client and prospect selection, because having a bad one will reduce your ability to be efficient from a BD and even recruiting perspective too.
Yeah, well, it also requires some courage and confidence to say no to prospective clients. And it feels like some of the recruiters and most of the recruiters these days are begging for new business, which puts them into some uncomfortable situation or maybe a mental setup.
Yeah.
So how to overcome this? How to become a confident business person who just walks in, qualifies prospects, and then gets the new business?
Yeah, I mean, some of it comes with experience, right? Like when you're first starting out, there is a lack of confidence at times, and I think what happen when that does happen is you feel that you're not bringing enough value to an organization, to a role, to justify rates, exclusivity, whatever it is, right? Like I'll take for example, I work with one client right now, and their rates were at 18%. And I said, guys, like, look, like that's lower than the market average. Most are going to be at 22.5, 25%. Like, why are we not up there? Like, well, we don't, we want to win the clients. We want a little bit lower. I'm like, guys, but realize the value you're bringing to this organization, right? You've said you've made some placements, some very tough roles. Like, yeah, we have. I'm like, well, look, like that is saving the company time, money, headaches, all these things. Like, you are bringing a ton of value to this organization. Therefore, your rates should justify that. You should be increasing your rates, and they did. The next role they got, they increased the rates up there to more market value because they're starting to gain that confidence that wait, I do bring a lot to the table, right? I am not just like every recruiting firm. Like I have filled some roles before. I have what my boss he called it spread confidence because we did contract staffing. So we saw, the spread between bill and pay rate. He called it spread confidence. And I think that is part of it. If you don't have incoming revenue yet, the other piece I would say to help from a confidence and just walking in there and saying like, hey, this is how I want to operate is really knowing your industry inside and out. And by that, I mean like understanding beyond just the staffing and hiring side, like understanding what's going on at a high level, right? No one's going to expect you to know things like the way that these managers do from say like a regulations perspective, economic perspective. Like knowing your industry and what's going on gives you the confidence to walk into those meetings and tell them in a nice way, right? But like this is the way to operate because I'm an expert in let's say the construction vertical, and I know if you wait 6 weeks to fill a role, you're going to lose 80% of your candidates, right? Or I know that with these upcoming change regulations from other clients I've spoken with, it's going to lead to increased need for hiring, right? You're educating your clients and you're really positioning yourself as more than just a recruitment vendor, but a recruitment partner, someone who gets it and therefore deserves, right, to be exclusive, to be retained, or to be at a higher rate.
Hmm. Well, this sounds very applicable for someone who is very senior, has been there, done that. But what about this guy in Montreal who is just starting? He is not an expert just yet. He's a recruiter who could do the job well.
Yeah.
Um, how he can overcome this probably imposter syndrome, if we can call it this way, or
Yeah.
lack of confidence? How to find some anchor that the trust can be built?
Yeah, so for this Montreal person, let's use this example, right? You mentioned they've already found some candidates,
Mhm.
and if they're finding great candidates, like let's hypothetical it out. Let's say the MPC someone out, and this person gets requested for an interview. Well, guess what? You just proved you know what you're doing because you've gotten to the point where interviews are being requested. If they get to a final stage, right, you prove you've been able to vet people properly because there's a difference between getting an interview just a request because that means you did a good job reviewing the resume, right? But to get to a final stage means you vetted the candidate properly as well. So I would say even if this person went to the final stage and didn't get the offer, they lost out to somebody. That to me, going back to small wins, that is still I wouldn't even call it small win. That's a big win. It means you did a great job finding a candidate that this company couldn't do themselves. You then got them in front of the hiring manager and they crushed it. They got to the final stage. So they must have been pretty good at what their experience required for the job. Therefore, you vetted the candidate properly too. That should instill the confidence to know that, hey, the people I'm talking to, the processes I'm bringing them through is working to identify the right talent. Therefore, I'm going to take that confidence and go to the next client or the next prospect and do the same thing over and over again.
Awesome, awesome. This is very a practical tip. Thanks for sharing. This is a great
Sure.
one. What's the next step now when the person in Montreal has the we should give him some name, Joe or John.
I know we keep the Montreal guy. Yeah, just make
Yeah.
up a name at this point.
So now when he has this list of the Dream 50 companies to work for and he disqualifies some of them, how can he actually get meetings with some of the prospects? Because there are so many different ways how to send mass emails or messages on LinkedIn. Um, or cold call or whatever, but
Yeah.
how to get the first few meetings?
Yeah, I mean, even go back to the 50, right? Like you've got your 50, you then should be building out the account, aka like who are you calling on? Because if you've done that properly, you should have multiple entry points. Like even if you're only working in say the IT space, there tends to be right a director, a manager, a supervisor, right? Those are all people that would benefit from you working with them. So those are the people you want to build out that account profile to understand who are all my call points. And then from there, I think what's really important is having a multi-channel approach, right? You mentioned all of them, right? Email, LinkedIn, phone. I don't believe in relying on only one channel. Some people swear by the phone, which is great. Like I think the phone still works, right? Some people swear by email. I'm like, again, I think the email works too. But I also think prospects want to be met at the channel which they feel most comfortable. Because some people will respond on email and they'll never pick up the phone. Some people will never respond to email and they will pick up the phone. So if you're going to create, right, for walking through a step-by-step process, you got your 50, you've got the people you should be reaching out to. From there, we should be dropping it into sequences, right? Multi-touch sequences. And by that, I mean, you should have 9 to probably 12 touch sequences of reaching out to this person over the course of, say, 2 to 3 weeks. And the key number is 9 because there's a lot of studies that have been done, and probably the number is going to increase in the next year. But it takes on average 8 touches to get a meeting nowadays. Most
Mm,
sales reps give up by the fourth touch. So if
mm,
you're saying to yourself, okay, in my let's say 10 touch sequence, I have 3 email steps, I have 2 cold calls, I have 3 LinkedIn messages, and I've got one old school, I'm gonna write them a handwritten note, right? There's my 10 touches. And every person that I prospect is going to go through this over and over again. It increases your chances of getting a meeting. I mean, the data shows it, right? And it also shows you're better than your competition simply by putting in the effort. Because if most people are giving up at 4 and you're going to 10, you will outpace your competition just solely on putting in effort. Now, granted, the messaging needs to be strong, right? I think a lot of it comes from the show me, you know me approach, specific within like those 50, doing proper research on the account, on the person you're reaching out to, things of that nature. But again, even if you just stuck to 10 touch sequence and it wasn't even the world's greatest messaging, you still have the higher probability of getting meetings, which leads to getting contracts in place.
awesome. Now, when you enumerate all these steps, it reminds me some of the mass email campaigns that we had in place 2, 3 years ago. We opened Apollo, I guess, back then, and filtered 10,000 CTOs and then mass emailed them, and obviously didn't bring any leads. But we had the impression of some activity, right?
Sure.
At least that. But now what you kind of describe is more of a shift from those tools to some mindset of delivering value to those prospects. As you describe them, there are more people in each account. So do you also work with your clients with their mindset of business development? Like, is this
Yeah.
something that plays some role?
Yeah, I mean, ironically, just last Friday, I did a LinkedIn Live with Jeff Risley around mental health and sales because I do think it is so important because it's such a hard job, right? Regardless, sales and tech, sales and recruit, it doesn't matter. Like sales is a hard job because you will be rejected more times than you will get yeses. Like that's just a fact. The world's greatest sales rep is not getting 100% no's, right? They're not even getting 50, or excuse me, 100% yeses. They're not even getting 50% yeses, right? Like if you're getting 30% of the time a yes, that's like Hall of Fame numbers. You're doing great. But that also means 70% of the time you're getting told no. 70% of the time you're getting rejected. 70% of the time things are going wrong. And so I think the mental piece is so important. I mean, I myself have gone through it. Like I shared some stories recently around my mental health journey and how I was at my lowest point in 21 to the point where I had to seek professional help. And I was in terms of like my career, I was on my way to the third president's club. Like everything looked great on paper, but behind the scenes, I was struggling. And I've realized from the people I've worked with, right? Some of the meetings I have with my clients, it is simply just a pep talk type of meeting because you need that. Like you need someone who is on the outside and can look at things with an objective nature and say, "Hey, you're doing the right things. It might not feel like it, but you're doing the right things and you should be excited and proud about where you're at today."
Mm,
Because when you're in the thick of it, it's hard, right? When you're
yeah.
doing it day in and day out, it's hard to like feel like you're making progress, feel like you're going somewhere, and have someone who says, like, look, like based on like what you're telling me, the activity you're doing, the conversations you're having, like you are doing the right things. It's a matter of time before you start seeing the results you want to do. It's like working out too, right? Like you work out over and over again, you got a personal trainer and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm going nowhere. And the personal trainer's like, look, like you've added a few pounds to your bench or you've gotten a little bit stronger. It might not feel like it to you that you're making massive progress, but me as the trainer, I'm seeing the change and you aren't realizing it yet. But this small change over time is going to lead to some very, very big changes in the future. So
Yeah.
yes, the mental side of the game is if I mean we talked about in the live, but like it is probably the most important topic in sales and also the least talked about topic because it is still to this day, it is not a commonly accepted thing to talk about your mental health in the workplace. There's just some still stigma around it. And I think a lot of people feel like if they come out and say like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm not feeling great about it, they're seen as like not a team player, they're not bought in, they're weak, right? Like all this cliche BS that's out there, it's not true. Because I do think seeking and asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. It's showing that you know, hey, I can't do this alone and I'm going to ask for help. Like that takes strength to do that. And I applaud anyone who raises their hand and says, hey, I could use some help on this side of the game, aka the mental side of the game too.
Mm. And on this note, is it a good idea to get someone to help with business development? For example, this solopreneur from Montreal, he would like to get clients because he is a recruiter, right? But
Sure.
also, this is not the job that the recruiter is comfortable with, and everyone can push through, but then it can lead to those mental health issues or
Sure.
burnout, or in the better case, no results, but at least no health issues.
Yeah.
So have you seen some successful cases of someone pairing up with a business development specialist and then sharing revenues?
Yeah, I think if you're ever having the conversation of, hey, do I need to bring in a business development individual? You got to look at it through a couple lenses, right? Do you have the budget, right? Because we shouldn't be bringing someone in that we don't have the budget for beyond. I mean, you should have at least a year plus of runway for this individual. Otherwise, you're setting them up for failure. The other piece too is what type of person are you bringing in? Are you going to bring in someone experienced or not? If they're not experienced, you sure as hell better have a sales system and processes in place to help that person be successful. Because that is a mistake I see where these solopreneurs are like, look, I just want to bring someone. It's like, cool. But if you're bringing someone green, who's going to teach them? Who's going to tell them how to sell? Because you're kind of admitting you either don't want to do it or you don't have the experience to do it. Either way, though, that is going to have a negative effect on whoever it is you bring in to fill this seat. And so you need to do whatever you can to set this person up to be successful in the long run. Because their success, of course, would translate to the business success, which translates to the owner's success as well. But you need to have that sales. You basically have to prove that you can either teach and coach them themselves because you've put a system in place that you follow, or you have to bring in someone experienced who can do it. But with that comes obviously a much higher price tag.
Yeah, and the price tag usually, I mean, you just mentioned that it needs to be a year of salary, just somewhere in the bank, sitting and waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you really should just like because you think about it, right? If you're coming in with 3 months only a salary, and you're thinking, okay, they're gonna win over 4 clients, and we'll be fine. The runway will get extended. Like that is a very, very dangerous spot to be in, and you're really, really setting someone up for what I think is failure. Like I just don't see that a world where that works out very well for any parties, right? Because even if at 3 months they haven't brought in new clients, but they've been making traction, you're like, well, I gotta let you go. Like I don't have the runway anymore. It's like, well, what about all the relationships that developed the last 3 months? They're gone now. Right now, you're going back to zero. Your company's firm, right? The reputation's going to get hurt as well. So it's a cascading effect. I would never ever bring someone in without at least budgeting out at least a year worth of salary for somebody.
That sounds reasonable indeed. And now with all these new tools, AI tools you already mentioned, it's probably easier for people doing the business development, but also probably a bit harder than it used to be because everyone is now swamped with messages, emails, now AI, voice calls, so
Sure.
on. So
AI
where
videos now too, right? You're seeing that as
videos.
well.
So where do you see this heading? What's the future of business development?
Yeah, I think the tools you mentioned, I'm still a big believer that they are great for everything that is behind the scenes, aka not customer facing. When it comes time to reach out to somebody, I think having AI help write some emails is not a bad idea, but it still needs the human touch because we are in a relationship people driven business. People aren't going to do business with an AI bot, right? To a certain point, maybe they respond, whatever. Like I'm sure over the next 5 years, like AI is going to get really good at like having conversations. We might not be able to detect it, but more often than not, people still want to meet. and they still want to have a conversation. So who needs to do that? The sales rep, right? The person that needs to run a discovery meeting, that knows how to talk to people, that knows how to develop relationships. So I still believe that like these tools are awesome for a lot of the behind the scenes heavy lifting, right? Doing account research, creating, I mean, there's some tools out there that can help you create sequences, right? And they help you create messaging, but you need to put in your own flair, your own words, and change it up a little bit before it starts going out to the customer. So that's where I see these tools really, really helping reps, is from an efficiency standpoint, doing some of the slow, boring prospecting work that none of us really like to do, to allow the sales rep more time with their prospects on the phone, in meetings, whatever it is.
Mhm. And one of the advantages of these tools is the scale that they can help us with. I already mentioned the campaign with 10,000 CTOs, which we blasted, and nothing really happened. But
Well, now
but
think about that. That was a couple years ago, right?
yeah,
Like, imagine now where we're going to be in a couple years from now with the continuing rise of AI tools. Like, I fear for our prospects inbox because of
mm,
how bad it's going to be, just
yeah,
flooded with these types of messages. And I think even on LinkedIn, we're seeing it with AI comments. Like, you can spot AI comments now, AI posts. It's People are starting to, now that we're a year or so into this experiment, are starting to be able to quickly identify, oh, this is AI written or not. Like, whether we realize or not, I feel like I'm starting to say like, oh, that's AI. And like, immediately when I see that, I don't pay attention to them after that point. Like, I'm done. Like, like, they use an AI bot to like create this generic thing. I have no interest having a conversation with them. And now amplify that to your point. You did 10,000. Like, if it's you and all these other firms, like, your your prospects inboxes are going to look really, really rough. So I do think that human touch, the relationship driven piece, is only going to continue to become more and more valuable, because people are going to try to take the easy route. Like, let's not kid ourselves. It isn't very hard to tell AI to like create email and drop it into some smart leads or whatever and send it out to 10,000 people. Like, anyone can do that. That's actually pretty easy to do nowadays. The hard part though is the human part, right? Being able to deliver value in a conversation, running a discovery meeting. Like, I think that's going to probably be one of the more valuable skills out there, because people that are just relying on technology to run the process for them, they're not getting the skills needed to run the discovery meeting when the time comes.
hmm. This is actually very good insight,
Yeah,
because now we can be hiding by the technology, and when the time comes to show our skills, we may notice they are not there, not present.
exactly. Old school. I also think, like, on the topic of prospecting too, I think the old school techniques will become more effective. And by old school, I mean handwritten cards. If you're at local, right? People still drop into offices, right? Dropping off little gifts here and there, seeing if someone's available. Like, yes, it feels awkward, but an AI bot can't do that. So that
Mhm.
alone, again, helps you differentiate yourself. Like, doing fun little gifts too. Like, there's a book, for everyone listening, a book called Giftology. I would certainly recommend reading that. Doing things like that, basically, enhancing their experience, I think will be beneficial for all parties. Because again,
Mhm.
the AI bot, I mean, there actually are some tools out there that can do your handwriting now, but do a handwritten card, right? Sending a fun little Starbucks gift card, creating a goofy little email sequence based around, let's say pumpkin spice latte season's coming up here in a month or so. Like, doing campaigns around that will differentiate yourself, because it's coming in the mail, right? People are going to open that, they're going to read it. It's not going to be buried in an inbox with 10,000 other emails. It'll be on their desk. They're going to open it up. They're like, hey, and then guess what? You call them up. You mention how you dropped off their card, whatever it is. That is old school stuff that was done years ago. And when COVID came around, it obviously got a little bit of pause on that. And I think everyone forgot about those ways. But I think those people who, and I mean, I've done it myself too. I've sent cutting boards, like personalized cutting boards, to some of the people I've wanted to work with, and then
Mhm.
that gets responses. And that's what we're trying to do in sales. We're not here to immediately close someone on the phone. Our job is to have conversations, right? What is the metaphor? ABC always be closing. Like, I don't believe in that. I think it's ABC should be always be conversing, because sales reps that go in and are having conversations with people, it means you're actually listening to what they have to say, and you're realizing, okay, is this someone that I would want to work with? Like, what are their actual problems? And even what we said 20 minutes ago, right? You might find out, if you're listening correctly, they're not the right client, right? We disqualified them. And that's okay, because we went in there, we were ABC always be conversing. We actually listened and had a conversation with them, and we realized, hey, we're not the right fit. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with shaking someone's hand and saying, hey, based on what you're telling me, I don't think they're a right fit. Here's what I'd recommend instead. Right? Like, who could be upset about that, right? You're saving everyone time, effort, headaches, future from this point forward. Like, that is a win in my book for everybody. But you can't get there if you have the very closed mindset of like, I got to sell, 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 because you'll
Mm.
miss you'll actually miss what the prospect is telling you.
Awesome. Well, I like how you talk about this process. It just feels so straightforward, easy to follow, to have a sequence, to meet with people and converse. Yet it's so difficult for a lot of people out there. So, based on your experience working with your clients and agencies, solopreneurs, what's the difference? Why some make it and they onboard lots of new clients while
Mhm.
others still struggle?
Yeah, it's funny. Funny you asked the question. I feel like I was just talking to someone about this, but like your what within sales, right? There's really only one thing you can truly control, which is your effort, which anyone can do, right? Anyone can control the effort they can put into this job. The hard part, though, is having the resiliency, the ability to get told no over and over again, and then have the same effort over and over again. And look, you're going to have your ups and downs days. I'm not saying your effort's always going to be at 100%, but you're still showing up day in and day out and trying to improve yourself. You're trying to improve your business. You're trying to get help. Even 1% better day over day is that's a win, right? And there's a lot of people that can't do that because, to answer your question, they're short-sighted in terms of what they want. They think they're going to get in, they're going to get win quick, they're going to get rich quick, right? It's like that is just not how it works. It takes time and effort. Again, I use the workout as like the workout's like the working out's the best metaphor though, because if you go to the gym a couple times, it doesn't matter. You're not going to see any results. If you go there
Mm.
for a few weeks, you're still not going to see any results. I think most personal trainers see you start to see results after 3 months of continually going to the gym. And that is like for most people, 3 months is seems like a long time, but in sales, that still isn't even long, right? You're not going to see there's some accounts that might take 6 months, a year to get into, but you're only going to get into those accounts if you put in the effort day in and day out and you have the resilience to go through. So that's why I think those that are successful are the ones that have a strong why, like why they're doing this too. Because if your why is like, I just want to get rich quick, it's like you're going to fizzle out. You're not going to have the motivation to show up day in, day out. You're not going to make it to the end of the tunnel. But if your why is like, look, I want the freedom to run my own firm, I want the ability to control my time, I want to work with clients that I want to work with, right? Those are those are whys that are important to you that you remind yourself on the days you're like, oh man, like I'm not feeling so great, right? Like I feel like I'm not making much traction. Like, okay, but what am I striving for? Oh, that's right. I'm trying to get more time freedom. So I'm going to push through some of these rougher days because I know the goal at the end of the tunnel is worth it.
Hmm. It's very interesting that you mentioned the purpose because a lot of people in our community they are looking for new jobs and they discover technical recruiting because in their mind IT has been growing and it is still growing. Some
Hmm.
segments probably not as much as they used to, but generally it is growing. So they get into technical recruiting because they perceive this as the cool job, but they don't really have any purpose why they do it, why they work with high-tech startups, and then they try to discover it, which often it's quite painful, and some of them probably never really discover it. So what could be a purpose in a job that is not really helping with deforestation, in Brazil, or not really cleaning rivers in wherever? Like this is quite transactional job, right?
Sure.
So how can someone find the purpose in this really tough job?
Yeah, I think I've called it the 3-year-old why exercise. And I know we talked about it right before we jumped on this call. So I have 4 kids. My 3-year-old's now 4, but the concept still remains. If you ever talk to a 3-year-old and tell them something, their response almost every time is why, right? Like if they, hey, hey, why is the sky blue, right? And you tell them it has something to do with the oxygen, the atmosphere. Like, well, why is that? It's like, and they just keep going to a certain point. You're like, look, I can't. Like, my knowledge just ran out. I've run out of it. And what I've told people is do the 3-year-old exercise in terms of why you do this job. Because it usually starts with like, hey, why are you in IT recruiting? Oh, I want to work with cool companies. Well, why do you want to work with cool companies? Well, because I like the cutting edge. I like the impact it has on people. Well, why does that motivate you? Well, the impact it has on people is because actually my family was affected by this, that, and the other. So I'm very passionate around that. It's like, well, why are you passionate about that? Well, I've seen the effect it's had on my family, and I want to make sure it doesn't happen to other people. Well, why is that? It's like, well, I don't know. It's like, well, there you go. You've reached it. You've reached your
Mhm.
bottom why. That is what is important to you. That is a few layers below the surface that you don't usually answer in an interview question. Because everyone asks in interviews too, like, hey, why do you want to work this job? It's like, I want money, I want freedom. It's like everyone says the same BS. Like, and I get it. It's not maybe it's not BS or not, but it's a common thing, but no one's willing to like dig down a few layers to give like the real heart of why they do what they do. And if you ask yourself, you don't need to do it with somebody else, just literally write it out and then put underneath it why, and then why are you, and insert from above, and just do that again and do it again and do it again. And when you get to the point where you can't answer any further, you found your why, you found your reason to do this job. And now write it on a card somewhere, tape it up, put it on your desktop. I don't care, but have it in front of you to remind yourself for the next time where you're like, ah, man, I don't want to do this anymore. You look at, oh, wait, there's my why. I'm doing this because
Mhm.
I'm passionate around helping people with this, because I believe this technology has the ability to impact people and whatever, right? Again, I'm making this up, but that is, I think, a very, very helpful exercise that anyone can do to uncover their why and why they do this job.
Well, awesome. This is something that I will do myself as well.
Okay.
Just to uncover the why again or rediscover it. Um,
Sure, that rediscover. I think that's a great ad, because your why from 5 years ago might be different than than it is today. I would actually venture to say it is. Like your why can change somewhat over time, right? But myself being a family man, when I first got into recruiting, I had no family, right? It was just me and my wife. Like why I did the job was very different than why I'm doing it today. My why has changed a little bit. Yes, some of the core principles still remain, but doing this exercise is never a bad thing to do every year. Like just to verify.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Well, I feel like I could listen to your business advice for the next 2 3 hours, but also your time is limited, and we are almost reaching the hour that we have booked. So I'm wondering, what is the one thing that you would like fellow solopreneurs who focus on the IT space to do next? You already mentioned sequences and systems in place. You mentioned niching down geographically. Is there something else that we missed and you would want everyone to?
Yeah, I would say the one thing I would add, kind of, we danced around it without me realizing, but I talked about like kind of like you said, your dream 50, and then within there you have the people you're going after. The last piece of this puzzle that I think can be so important is creating an account focused doc, meaning go account by account and set very specific goals within each one. It might be like, hey, have a conversation with Jane Doe, right? Put the specific name, director of IT, get so and so out to lunch. Like, have these goals that you do quarter over quarter, and you're constantly adjusting and aiming to hit those goals, because all the studies have shown, right? Writing things down leads to higher probability of goals actually being accomplished. So having an account focus doc that you can look at day in and day out and say, okay, right now we're almost a month into Q3. And if you look at the account focus doc and you realize, oh wait, I haven't completed, I have zero of the things have been checked off. It's like, okay, that could be a problem, right? It probably means you were distracted, you got pulled in a bunch of different directions, which happens all the time. But your account focus doc reminds you that, hey, these are my top priorities I set for myself for this quarter, and I need to make sure if I suddenly have like a free hour because a candidate backed out of an interview or whatever it is, like I'm going to go to that document first. And I'm going to say, okay, what did I plan out and think was important at the beginning of the quarter that I want to execute on today? And that's basically your guiding light to breaking into these accounts as well. So that'd be the last piece in terms of what your listeners should do. I would highly, highly recommend that, because it is so impactful. You're not going to hit, if you hit all 100% of your goals, you set your goals too low too. That's the last piece I would say. You really should be setting some stretch goals. And if you're getting to like say 70% completion, I'd be like, hell, you're doing a hell of a job, because those 30% you didn't complete, they roll over the next quarter anyways. Those are probably the goals where you're like trying to break into the big accounts, right? And those are going to take time, but they're constantly in front of you, and they're constantly reminding you, okay, I'm trying to strive for this quarter over quarter. And when I do those things, I will win new clients.
Mm. Well, this focus on accounts, it's so powerful. If I get back to this example of the 10,000 CTOs who we approached, that was exactly the wrong approach, right? Because we just chose one person from a company. We didn't even know which company they are from. We just kind of emailed 10,000 CTOs. But what you suggest is to have extreme clarity about the accounts, who works there, what are their job titles, and then have action items for each of them. That's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, what are one of the common complaints you hear from prospects? Say like, oh, these agencies, they're so sporadic with their follow up. They only reach out and have jobs. They're like so hit or miss. It's like this approach, make sure you don't do that, right? You're locked in and you are continually following up. And not to say you don't prospect outside those top 50. I'm just a big believer in like the Pareto principle, right? Where 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Most people when they do a territory plan end up with like 400 or 500 accounts. Like they're usually within a geographical area, it's somewhere around there. If you pare that down to about 20%, you get that like 50 or so number, maybe 100. And those are the ones you're going to be focusing on, because you know the result or the efforts you put into those accounts will far outweigh going after 500, spreading yourself too thin. Because again, if you're getting reoccur business, I don't, every person's goal is different, but I do believe if you have between 8 and 10 active clients, you're going to be close to billing $1 million year over year. Like that the numbers all say that's what's going to happen. And then you just keep doing that year in and year out, and you'll be very, very successful.
Wow, awesome. Well, that's very inspirational. And I guess a lot of the solopreneurs from our community are looking forward to achieving these numbers. And now they know it's totally doable and realistic. Where can people connect with you if they would like to explore what you do and how you can help them further?
Sure. Yeah, LinkedIn. I'm on there every day, right? I post every day. So yeah, the easiest way to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn, and shoot me a DM, send me a connection request. Happy to talk.
Awesome, wonderful. So I'll include the link in the show notes. So thanks again. It was very useful, and I'm sure the solopreneurs found lots of very practical, actionable insights as well to
Well,
deploy
I,
right away.
I hope so, right? And I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you.
All right.
See you
Take
soon.
care.
Cool. So that was great, and we were recording.